I always like to start a lot of these. By the way, this is episode 800.
800, baby. Woo!
Whoa!
That's amazing. Thank you for
800.
allowing me to be part of it, man. It's been great.
I thank you. Thank you for taking the time and being part of it. You're a big part of it. This podcast started because of Le'Veon Bell. Because I was so mad of his holdout in 2000 in July of 2018. I was so mad. I cannot articulate in just a tweet how angry I was. So I decided to make a podcast. And 800 episodes later, here we are.
And we've done. I was thinking about this today, driving out to Bedford, PA, where I'm staying tonight, and thinking like, yeah, God, we've done the Halloween candy draft. We've done the
Yeah.
Thanksgiving food draft.
Uh-huh. Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
our
During
favorite
COVID, I
Chappelle.
remember that. Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Favorite Chappelle. You had a good one the other day on what series would you bring back? I felt like that could be a good one for us
That'd be
someday.
interesting. Yeah.
For me, it'd be Cheers because I feel like you could still bring back Norm and Cliff. You could bring back Frasier. You could bring back like a lot of guys to the bar and have like, Woody's son be the bartender or something like that. Like most of the main players
Honestly,
are still alive.
I'm absolutely shocked they haven't done that.
Or they haven't tried, right? They did it with Night Court and it's been
Oh God, that night court thing is awful.
it's so
Um,
corny.
I have not watched the Frasier one. I keep seeing commercials for it. Apparently, it's been renewed for season two. Yeah, the original Night Court was one of my favorite shows. It was
Yes.
so funny and quirky and goofy and silly and just really good. And I tried this new Night Court. It's like, oh man.
No.
That's the thing. It's like usually these remakes suck. I haven't seen
Yeah.
one good one yet.
Not one
But
that's been just like fantastic. It's just, yeah,
damn.
not good. Not
Yeah.
good.
Ted Danson's still out there. Norm's still out there. I know Cliff is. Now it would be funny getting Woody there. That would be funny because he's kind of he's kind
Yeah.
of evolved, but you could bring him back. Oh, there's no, Kirstie Alley is no longer.
Yeah,
But
that's when
I
she
think
passed.
Shelley Long's still there. I'm not sure if she's still
Oh, I'm sure Shelley.
alive.
Yeah, I think Shelley Long's still around.
Maybe. Um.
Rhea Perlman's still around. You could have
Oh my
Carla.
goodness.
I mean, yeah. You know what killed me the other day? There was an episode where it was Norm's birthday, and it was revealed he was 38, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm old. It's just like,
Um.
but
What
yeah.
was it?
So
All in the Family. Like it is funny when you see the ages of these people when you think All in the Family, like, oh, he must have been in his 60s or something like that. He was like 44 or something like
yeah,
that.
I
I'm
know. And
like,
he looked like he was. Yeah, the Golden Girls are the same thing too. It's like they
yeah.
weren't actually like senior citizens; they were in their 50s, and that's getting too close.
Right.
So,
Right. It is funny. Like they show it's like here's B. Arthur at age 50 and here's Jennifer Lopez at age 50 or something like
yeah,
that. It's like
Jennifer Lopez looks better. Yeah, be like the hot
right,
Golden
right.
Girls. So
Anyway, so this is a very special episode of the donut bag. But previously on the donut bag, let's go back to game one when it was supposed to be Russell Wilson, but a couple days before, it was revealed Justin Fields has to go in because Russell Wilson's hurt, and he did okay. No touchdowns. Got a whole bunch of field goal drives, and we said, this you can't do this all the time. Then the next game against the Broncos, uh, one touchdown, but Fields only threw for like 120 yards, and we said, you can't do this. As soon as Russell Wilson is healthy, he's gonna go back in. Then yesterday, Justin Fields balls out. He looks very good.
yep.
25 of 32, 245 yards, one touchdown, one interception, one running touchdown. Now we're saying, uh-oh, what do we do now? I think we officially have a quarterback controversy now. What do you think?
I think you do. I ran a poll on Twitter just for fun this morning, and it got right around 100 votes, and 93% think it should be Fields. And then I don't think that would have been the case. We've been so like, well, he's been the backup. Well, he has, and he's done what you backups don't want to do. I always say this, right? He hasn't turned the ball over. No, he did Sunday. but it wasn't to, their dismay. They didn't lose because of his turnovers. And the other thing, Joe, it's been week by week, it's been progressively better. Denver was okay, but this week was a big step forward. And the pass that we've been waiting for, the Calvin Austin, like last year, nobody could connect with Calvin Austin because the quarterback sucked and they couldn't hit him. That's the kind of pass you want to get to Calvin Austin. You get the ball to him, get it up in the air, let him run with it because his speed's elite. It still is. And I think if the end zone wasn't so close, I don't think that guy would ever caught him, because he slowed down when he got to the end zone. But that was a great pass to Austin. He has good pocket presence. There was one where, the safety came on an end around and he took the sack. He didn't try to get fancy. And, it was funny. I was talking to a friend of mine that covers the Bears. And he said, for all those years, the one thing I would say about Fields is he never had an offensive line. He never had a pocket to even play in. And now he's getting a pocket, right? The offensive line was good. McCormick played great yesterday. The offensive line was great. And, so you're still, in a way, still looking at a rookie quarterback in a sense. I know he's had 3 years, but he's never had 3 years with, a decent line. Now, he doesn't have exactly a great receiving core. Although I will note that Van Jefferson, when he got injured, we started doing better yesterday. But that, you can chalk that up to however you want to. I'm not, don't read into that. But, it would be interesting if he plays out this year. Let's say they go above 500, they make the playoffs, hopefully win a game. He has a fair to decent season, and you get him a decent receiving core next year. You get him Devontae Adams. That's the rumor now. Wow, who knows? Who knows? But definitely, it's not trending down, Joe. I think the controversy would be even more apparent if, like, he would have had a bad day yesterday and barely would have won in spite of him. But they're 3-0, and he's done pretty well. He hasn't done anything to lose at that time, so yeah, I don't see a reason to yank him.
You can't take him out now. There's no way. The talk was Russell Wilson's hurt. He's still hurt. He's limited in practice, blah, blah, blah. He's still hurt. Even if Russell Wilson is completely healthy, congrats, buddy. You're now the number 2 quarterback.
Probably are, and he's probably not happy with that. And, I'm sure that'll get, because you can see him on the sidelines. He looks a little, okay. He doesn't look excited. So, and that's just the thing, and it's, hey, good to Russell Wilson. I mean, or Justin Fields, at least we know if Fields does start to struggle or anything like that, Wilson might come in and Wilson might go, who knows? But the thing is, I don't think any of us, even Allison, had him at 4-0 or 3-0, and possibly I think they're going 4-0. I think they're going to beat the Colts. We'll get to that later, but yeah.
As
they're
one of the only joke. I had them going 10-0 and then ended up 10-7.
There you go. There you had it. You had it. You may be right. But yeah, just distributing the ball yesterday was well. Freiermuth to the receivers, Pickens, Scotty Miller. He's passing the ball around and it looked pretty good. Najee Harris, had a couple receptions and had a pretty good game. So really wish I would have liked to have seen Harris get across the end zone. That one drive, he's just short. Because it's like, I think the third game in a row, he's had 70 yards, like on the nose. So, yeah.
Very funny that at the end they could have gone for the touchdown and they decided to do the sportsman-like thing and just not. But that was right. If they hit the touchdown, it would have gone over. And if you're betting over on a Steeler game, you deserve to lose anyway. But it is funny how that didn't happen. But yeah, that kind of has to stink for players. Like, I kind of like the touchdown here. I know we should be sportsman-like and we're gonna win, but I'd also like the touchdown too.
Well, when you look at the pass distribution, we talked about this over the last 2 weeks. There was some pass distribution. Most of it went to Pickens. And I said to you, like, and we read down, I think there was like at one point, I think out of the Falcons game, he had like 6 receivers with 1 reception. But look at this yesterday. Austin had 4. Pickens had 5. Freiermuth 4. Scotty Miller 2. Najee Harris 5. Cordell Patterson 3. He passed it around. Those numbers are improving. So they're going up against a Colts team with a very vanilla defense. There's not a lot great about it. It's not a horrible defense, but it's not a great defense. So he should continue to progress, hopefully, against the Colts next week.
I tell you what, I really liked what I saw out of Scotty Miller. I mean, there was a play where it was supposed to be like, I don't know, like a 5 yard gain, and he turned it into a 20 yard gain or something like that. Uh, I also liked, now I was down on Calvin Austin, but they might have something there. I don't wish injury on anyone, but I think Van Jefferson's eye is just, they might have to amputate or something. I don't know. They might have to just, just,
Well,
just just
you
put.
know,
I don't know what, but I don't think he should play like ever anymore.
you
I'm fine with
the
that.
irony there too is he's kind of in the same boat, right? He got injured out of camp. We never got to see him his rookie year. We all wanted to. Last year he kind of finally comes back, and our offense was such a mess that I even said to my wife yesterday, it's fun watching the NFL Red Zone flipping back and forth because you actually get to see the Steelers on NFL Red Zone because last year we didn't really get to see them there because they never made it there. That's the kind of pass that you want. I mean, 4 receptions for 95 yards and a touchdown. If that's what your slot guy or your third guy is going to do every week, or even 70 yards and touchdown, I'll take that every week. Every week. And maybe we finally have a guy, even if Russell Wilson was there, I think we finally have two guys, at least with Fields, that can get him the ball. And I don't know how I saw a stat that was kind of interesting. That touchdown was 10% Field, 60% Austin. Who cares? If he gets a pass to him, that's exactly what you want to do. Because if you get the ball out there in front and Austin
It was 100% correct. It was 100% a touchdown. So who
yeah,
cares what percentage?
yeah, there isn't very many guys in the league that can catch Austin. So I mean, it was great. It was great.
I wonder how Roman Wilson figures into all of this. If he figures in at all, you know, rookie didn't. I mean, he missed most of training camp, but he was a third round pick. I don't know. Do we just throw him in there and see what he could do? I don't
Oh, I
know. I
think
kind of want to see
so.
what he could do.
The receiving core still, if there's one thing that's really got me being, if there's any source of pessimism in me right now, it's still I worry about that receiving core, right? But yeah, he steps in. But really, I mean, these first 3 weeks, it's like been a de facto preseason. It's like you even looked at the scores yesterday. Some of them were surprised. Like the Panthers up on the Raiders, like they were. The Vikings being world beaters right now. If that's going to play out, I don't know. The Bills just hung 30 on the Jags by halftime tonight, and the Commanders are beating the Bengals. The Browns are 0-3. I don't necessarily think the Browns are an 0-3 team. I would thought they were a little bit better than that, but here we are. And the Ravens, now they went down to Dallas and they won, but they have the Bills next week, and if you're not watching right now, the Bills are kicking the crap out of the Jaguars. So there's a good possibility, come episode 801 or whatever it may be, the Ravens could be 1-4. So it's like it's nuts right now.
The Steelers have their quote unquote easy part of the schedule in the beginning and then hell in the back. But it kind of looks like the Ravens have their hell part of the schedule right now.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to go against the Bills. I mean, they almost lost to the Cowboys after having a big lead. Something's wrong with the Ravens, and there is no excuse for losing 21-13 to the Commanders right now. It's in the middle of the third quarter. Oh, and they're about to score. So
yeah, yeah. Well,
I don't know what's going on with the Bengals.
And the Browns lost to the Giants.
Yeah.
I thought the Giants the week before, it was a really great stat. They were the only team, I think, in the last 30 years. They scored 3 touchdowns, but they didn't allow any touchdowns, and they still lost in regulation to the Redskins with the Commanders. And you would think that's a team that the Browns would beat. I mean, we all had the Steelers beating them, and I'd say the Giants are probably one of the worst 5 teams in football, but here we are. They're beating teams like the Browns. So, I don't know. So it'd be very interesting to see how this is going to go because after this weekend, Joe, or even next weekend, we might be 4-0 and be in total command of the division. Now, no division wins yet, But you start doing what they did last year, and I think they could sweep the Bengals. Right now, they might sweep the Browns. They could be in a good position.
I tell you what, knock on whatever the heck wood you have, but the game next week at the Colts, very winnable. I think
Yep.
home to the Cowboys is very winnable too. It's a Sunday night game. The Cowboys don't look that good. We know the Raiders suck. The Jets, I think the Jets aren't that great either. And then home to the
Well,
Giants at the Commanders, we might be looking at like 8-0, 9-0 or something like that.
I think the jury's still out for me on the Jets. I mean, they have a very solid defense. It's a fairly good offense. And Rodgers is, again, in a way like Fields is. He's learning that offense. That could be a good game. That could be a team that could challenge us for sure. But Dallas right now has the worst running defense in the NFL. We could hand it to them. I mean, we could really go in there. And I don't care, Joe, if that's another game where we just score 21 points. But if we're able to pound the ball down their mouth with Najee and Jalen, a little bit of Fields, and maybe a touchdown pass here or there, you could be seeing the same result of 20-10 victory over the Cowboys. Because the thing is, right now, the Steelers defense, I didn't want to get too optimistic. They're looking pretty elite, aren't they?
Amazing. Amazing. The Chargers had -5 yards in this.
Yeah, that's not just like good.
They went backwards.
Yeah, that's elite. I mean, that's a kind of defense where, the Chargers came in with one of the number two offense in the NFL and the number one rushing attack, and we shut them down. And I love Joe Alt Jr. there, the tackle. I mean, he's a guy I would love to have seen here in Pittsburgh, but he went like maybe 6 or 7, I forget, in the draft. Yeah. Control Alt the Elite, great nickname. Hadn't let a sack up and looked pretty good against TJ Watt for the first half.
Yeah.
And then TJ Watt took him to school. I mean, it was great. It was great. So they did everything they needed to do, and then some.
One more thing about the offense. Jalen Warren is obviously still hurt. Something's right.
Mhm.
But Cordarrelle Patterson, I thought he was a washed up old man that like, what is this old man doing out there? That dude can move, and he's 6'2", 220, and that guy got some speed on him, man. I'm really excited what they could do with Cordarrelle Patterson.
Yeah, I mean, actually, other than Najee, he had the second most touches yesterday in the game. He had 7, right? He had 4 receptions, 3 carries, or maybe the other way around. 4 carries, 3 receptions. But yeah, no, he is. He's looking like a dangerous weapon, and that's the fun thing about this is it develops and these guys get used to one another. And I think, look, hey, I know everybody wants instant everything this year, folks and fans, but it's just not that way. And if the Steelers keep doing what they're doing, I mean, they're not going to start scoring 30 or 40 points a game. I don't believe that's going to be. But if they can do this 20-10, 28-13, whatever it may be, they could be a formidable team down the line. And my thing was, because I took our podcast, put it to Facebook week 1, Sunday mid morning, and I said, I put in, how could I be wrong? Well, where I could be wrong, because I think I had the Steelers being the worst out of the 3 of us or 4 of us on the podcast that week. Unless this offense starts to click sooner than I thought, and Fields finally finds himself a home where he's comfortable, then I might be wrong. And I'm thinking it's starting to look like I'm wrong. They're, slowly but surely. They're not, they're not the greatest show on turf. They're certainly not as good as the Bills offense or, whatever, but they are starting to come along. And it's a lot easier for an offense to take its time and come along when your defense is kicking the living crap out of the opposing team's offense like the Steelers
Right.
are.
Right. There was a play where it ended up being like a 6-yard pass or something like that, but Fields actually had some time to throw. And somebody on Twitter said, if this was Chicago Justin Fields, he would hold on to the ball, wait for that deep ball. probably throw that deep ball and it's either incomplete or an interception or something like that, or he would run or something like that. Here, it was just a nice 6 yard completion where he's like, he saw that nothing was going on. It's like, boom, there you go. And everybody is talking about, Dan Orlovsky, this Chase Daniel, all these quote unquote experts are saying Fields is a dude. Fields is figuring out, he's maturing, he's figuring out this quarterback position. That could get really, really interesting. I wonder I had this idea that they should have given him like an extension, like a 2 year extension, like right before the season. I wonder if they should like break the rule about negotiating, just give him an extension now. I mean, they
Well,
might have their dude.
I don't know if they do it now, but I think if we're sitting here in another 2 months and they're sitting at 8-2 or 9-1, then that might start. That might start talking. He's kept on progressing the way we're talking about, right? And there isn't a massive amount of turnovers, or he doesn't lose games because of the turnovers. Then you could be right. You could see them do that without question, because it's actually a really good point now that I think about this. Because as you look down the line, there's not a lot of great quarterback play right now. Going back to the right, it's like a ex facto, preseason right now. I mean, there's some guys balling it out. Jason Allen, obviously, who my dad drafted in fantasy, is killing me right now because both of my quarterbacks, Jordan Love and Tua, are gone, and I went with Gardner Minshew, who is, that, and we have like a bunch of Gardner Minshews, and then you have like three or four guys. The Steelers are going to be playing the Colts this coming Sunday. And Anthony Richardson was a guy that in a lot of fantasy leagues was going, it's a top 3, top 4 quarterback.
Oh yeah.
And he's looked awful.
Yep.
He's less than 50% completion rate now of passes of 12 yards or more. He's just not been good. I don't know if it's a sophomore slump. Maybe last year he did have a few great games, but then he got hurt and was gone the rest of the year. Maybe there was too much hype with him going into this season because he's looked like crap, Joe. And they kind of turned the ball over to Jonathan Taylor, but it's too late for anything then. So I think you'll see a lot of Jonathan Taylor, and I don't know, but I think Steelers defense could really have a field day with the Colts offense next week.
The only thing that scares me is he's an extremely mobile quarterback, and sometimes the Steelers have problems with that. But like in terms of passing, that dude just sucks. He clearly doesn't know what he's doing. He's still going through his rookie phase where he doesn't know what the heck. He just throws it out there and just hopes for the best. And it's just
right, which is like
not good.
Michael Pierce had like 180 yards and 2 touchdowns in week 1 because he was just going up the field balls. But unless Richardson really locks it down and gets his accuracy back this week, I could see some Steeler interceptions, maybe 2, come Sunday. Because these guys are so good in the backfield, Joe. You can't just do that and not suffer some consequences. They will pick you off.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. This defense is just unbelievable. I think it just helps so much that we're finally having complementary football. We're finally having situations where it's not just now there were some 3-and-outs this time. It wasn't all perfect, but there are also a lot of sustained drives, 13 plays, 6 plays, 12 plays, all these nice long drives that eat up the clock. The defense could be on the sideline reading a book, lounging, enjoying themselves, and they're out there so they're out there so little that like forget about if you're a backup, if you're poor DeMarvin Leal, he's never gonna play because all the starters are playing all the time. It's just a perfect situation right now, and you just knock on wood. Hopefully, there's no injuries, but
The
God,
only thing
this
I thought
has to be
was
the best
funny.
defense in the league.
Oh, I agreed. But you talked about like that for one of the I think both teams came out and started 0-3 and were out because they were like, damn, it's hot.
Yeah.
And some of the questions that I was at gathering or watching the game together, and it's actually a good point because the NFL's official rule on jersey selection is the home team either wears their white or their official team colors. And I'm thinking, every time that you go down to like Jacksonville in particular, right, because it's, open air, they're always in their whites and they make the Steelers wear black. Like, I don't understand. Like, I get tradition. Why in the hell didn't they say, hey, let's go with our whites and make, let's make the
Seriously.
Chargers wear their dark blues or whatever.
Seriously.
I
It's a
mean,
huge difference between wearing black and white.
yeah,
It's like a 10-degree difference and yeah,
right.
like
We're out there in our business suits, our black and gold business suits. And, I mean, it's like,
pretty much,
I know
yeah.
they ended up winning the game, but I did think that was interesting because, like you said, they were saying there was an absence of fans. I don't think it was a sellout, but there's a lot of people hanging out by the river, hanging back in the stands, going down to the Great Hall, trying to get some air and just because the one thing
It's
nice about
hot.
Heinz Field, we were talking earlier before we went on air, the Great Hall always has a breeze coming through because they open up those gates. It's almost a constant breeze. The Great Hall is great to go walk through. I've done it many
It is
times for a
nice. It is
concert
nice.
or
It's a nice open
yeah.
air area. Yeah.
So you're right. Like fans were kind of struggling yesterday. It was hot. So yeah, I mean, I thought that was something of interest. Break out the white jerseys for a home game. Could you imagine? Because I don't think that's ever happened, has it? I
No,
mean,
I've
yeah,
never heard of that happening.
yeah. Even when the Cowboys, because the Cowboys have that stupid rule, like it's not stupid, but they wear their white jerseys for every home game, and it's Cowboy tradition. They always wear their home whites.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, they always do. So, because I remember it was early in Ben's career, so it would have been what 2000. It was like either his rookie year or the year after. We all went to Dallas, and I mean there were so many Steeler fans at the Cowboy Stadium, and they won that game. That's like it was a young Ben Roethlisberger, right? And they were in their black and gold. They weren't in their whites. Dallas, almost always makes the opposing team wear dark colors there.
Interesting.
But it would
Interesting.
have been. I just think that would be fun to see the Steelers in their whites at home.
For the Chargers, they're probably complaining it was too cold. It's like only 85.
Well, playing in
We're used to
snowfall.
120.
Yeah.
What is this? What is this? Oh, get the sweater. This is sweater weather for them.
Yeah, right, right. But no, I agree with everything you said too on the offense. It's progressing. The defense is, balling out. You saw Highsmith went down, and like you said
Herbig.
before, yeah, nobody wants to see anybody hurt with Vaughn Jefferson, but Herbig came in and the crowd went nuts. This town loves Herbig, and what did he do? He looked great. He looked great.
He hardly ever plays these past 2 years. He is in there for a very short amount of plays, but when he's in there, he just wrecks stuff. He's
Oh,
amazing.
he's nuts. He's flipping out. He's going crazy, and I think he's feeding into that. I really feel like I hope we get to see more of him. I hope it's not an injury for the reason, but I'd like to see more Nick Herbig because he looked great.
I think they should do nothing against Highsmith. Highsmith is very good, but I think they should do at least a rotation of like Highsmith on first and second down and Herbig on an obvious like third down passing situation. Because I don't know, I that dude's almost unstoppable. He's baby TJ.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they really. I guess we never want to sound more optimistic or cocky or arrogant. I don't think we ever have on this podcast, but the defense is to this point starting to make me think like these guys could be really, really good. If the offense can figure it out and do what they did today, or maybe put another touchdown on the board, they could be good. But it's like you don't want to get too excited because it's like we've been let down so much over the years. Um, but Joe, I mean, it's just like there's no weak point right now in the defense. At least hasn't shown. Yeah,
The Minnesota Vikings have a very good defense.
yeah.
But I think the Steelers can easily lay claim for the number one defense in the league right now. They're just they're just it's just really crazy. I mean, everything is working. The defensive line is amazing. The linebackers are amazing. Poor Patrick Queen, he isn't even doing anything because he doesn't have to. He's like, why aren't
Right.
you doing anything? It's like, because everybody else is the line is doing everything for me. I don't have anything to do.
Well,
Put
Craig
Minka.
Wolfley.
Remember, Minka was supposed to be like, oh, we need Minka to have interceptions. Minka's out there laying down, like working on his tan.
Craig Wolfley said all week that the Steelers were kind of pissed off about the Chargers coming in. They're talking about how good the Chargers defense was and what they're going to do and how. And I think that kind of stuff always feeds into this defense. And how about, hats off to Terrell Austin, Sharon, Pennsylvania native, by the way. Sharon High School,
Oh,
Sharon, PA
wow.
native, and just, an hour and 10 minutes north of the city there. He's got this defense humming right now, Joe. He really does. Hats off to him. He's been a great defensive coordinator the last 2 years, even. Last year, I think he had to work harder than he did this year because the offense put him in a damn corner every single time.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, yeah. I mean, whatever adjustments they made at halftime. Oh, I mean, I forgot that I saw the stats. Like how many years it's been since somebody had a team had negative yards in a half. That's just crazy.
Especially a team. It's not like we did that to the Cardinals. It's not like we did this to some haphazard team. We did it to the one of the best running team in the league. I know it's only 2 weeks in going into the game, 3 weeks in, but they did a great job shutting that down. They really, really did. I mean, I think Falcons, okay, nice win. Broncos, it was kind of ugly. You and I were happy, but we were like, meh. Uh, this week is the first week this season where I felt, like, hey, all right, and then yeah, because Friday didn't start out well, Joe. Troy Fontenot pretty much
Yeah.
looks like gone for the season. Maybe if they make the playoffs, but I tell you what, if they're rolling the playoffs and everyone's playing well, the guy dislocated his kneecap. I just say, hey, chill.
Hey,
We'll see you.
come on
We'll
back.
see you in July. You'll be okay.
And Broderick Jones did okay.
Yep.
Didn't implode or anything like that. And I think we're just gonna have to live with him. And I think I mean I feel bad for him because I think he's hurt. I think he's hurt with that elbow and whatever else is going on. He's just not at 100%. But you know what? You got to manage that. So you know what? You just gotta live with it. So
Right. And I
uh,
think he was honked off too, Joe. I think last week he was honked off for
oh
his performance, and
yeah,
he had something to prove yesterday, and he did.
yeah, yeah. I mean that's when you get pulled in the middle of the drive. That is peak embarrassment there. Um,
Yeah.
I I I just wonder what's going to happen with Russell Wilson. Let's say this continues and Justin Fields keeps playing well and they keep winning and Russell Wilson is just on the bench. I don't know. I don't I could see him requesting a trade because this was supposed to be his big redemption season. And the only reason he came to the Steelers is because he was guaranteed to start. And now he's not starting. I don't think he's going to be happy being
So
a backup.
if I'm hearing you right, Oakland Raiders, here's Russell Wilson and a draft pick for Devontae Adams. Okay. It probably won't
I
happen.
I
But
that's a good trade. Let's trade him to Miami for Tyreek Hill.
that one's definitely not going to
Why
happen. But
not?
way to start the rumor mill, Joe. That'll be all over the internet tomorrow.
Why not?
We're going to get Tyreek Hill. We're going to get Ayuk. No, and here's the thing: for all the crap we laid on the Steelers last year, and they deserved a lot of it. They're sitting at 3-0 right now. The Bengals are getting their butts kicked by the Commanders, and the Redskins should have an elite offense and at least a manageable defense, and they don't have either right now. The Browns, I think, honestly, Deshaun Watson has to be probably one of the worst deals in history. And I guess we could say, well, we know or we told you so, but I don't even know if the Browns realize what a jerk this guy is and how bad he was and how he couldn't possibly come back. Because I think he's done, unless barring some miraculous turnaround. And they gave him some decent tools. I'd love give us Miles Austin. Give us, we'll take it. But and the Ravens, like you said, Joe. I mean, if they don't beat Buffalo, which that's going to be a tall order because right now the Bills are playing out of their minds. Um, the Ravens are going to not be in a good spot after next week.
And AFC North standings right now, the Steelers are 3-0. Baltimore is 1-2. Could very well be 1-3. Cleveland 1-2, and I agree. They are gone. They're just that Deshaun Watson situation could not have worked out worse for them. My God, because now they're stuck with him. The worst possible, the best scenario for them is if he gets hurt and ends up on IR and they play somebody else. They're
They
stuck
bring back
playing this schmuck.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I think that's what we thought. We're like, well, The Browns were able to get, into the playoffs with like they lost 7 starters to injury. They're all back, and now it's going to be good. And so far, I know we're early in the season. We're early. We're not halfway yet. We get it, folks. But man, I tell you, even with the Bengals, they're trying to climb back in. They just scored, but I mean, that offense there, you figure that offense is good enough to get you to a Super Bowl, and it's not clicking right now.
If the Bengals
Defense
lose
definitely.
this game tonight and go 0-3, I mean, yes, it's early, but dang, how do you come back from 0-3 when one of the teams in your division is 3-0? I mean,
Right. They do have the offense to come back. It is the Commanders. It's not like they're going against the Chiefs, but um, they could win that game, and the next week they should beat Carolina. They could get back into it, but they need to win this game tonight because I think Carolina, unless you're the Raiders, is pretty much an automatic win at this point.
oh boy, this
Um,
is
yeah, it is interesting, and then you get the Browns go to the Raiders next week. Maybe they win that game, but the Raiders are weird. You're right. It's like they. It depends on what the Raiders team shows up. Sometimes like the Raiders come into it and they look like they should be pasted, and they figure out a way to do really well, and then they lose 3 more games in a row. So interesting how that's going to go.
yeah, yeah. The Raiders are a total
And
wild
then
card.
Buffalo's at Baltimore Sunday night. So yeah, I don't know. I think Baltimore's definitely got the toughest task. Steelers, Browns, and Bengals have favorable matchups. So in 1 week's time, it could flip the tables a little bit. And then, like you said, though, we've been saying is I think you got to survive and have a decent record because we get into like week 9, week 10 when things get really nuts. I don't care how good this defense is. There's going to be some losses in there somewhere. I just can't imagine that they're going to make it out of there without 1, 2, who knows what.
Just
But
remember those final 4 games: at Eagles, at Ravens, home to the Chiefs on Christmas 4 days later, and then home to the Bengals. So you got a gauntlet coming up at the end. So yeah, so load up on those wins because you're gonna need them.
right, but you're also going to need those division wins too, like you had last year. I think that's going to really play into what's seeding, and if you get into playoffs, because it could be a 10-7. And if we don't play well against our division, we might be on the outside looking in again.
Yeah.
So, 1 week at a time, Joe. But I do like our chances against the Colts. They're a team that is not as good as I thought they were going to be, and I think they're right now. They right now are a team that the Steelers should be able to beat.
Just remember, it was a year ago that they also went into Indianapolis, and it was a complete disaster. Was that the Mitch? That was the Mitch Trubisky game that he got pulled, and then Mason Rudolph came in for like the last few minutes or whatever just to get him some, and that's when what started Rudolph mania. But uh yeah, I mean, hey, you could just if they need motivation, it's like we got embarrassed here last year. We need revenge.
Yeah, no, I think they definitely do. They look at it as a revenge game, right? And all more power to them. It's a win against an AFC opponent. Get yourselves to 4-0 in the division. So there's a lot on this game because, like I said, barring any major upsets, I think the Bengals and Browns probably both win, even though they're both on the road next week. But then again, I'd say that Browns Raiders is maybe a toss up, Joe, because right now the Browns aren't world beaters. Bengals with their offense should take care of Carolina.
Well,
But
remember the Raiders got embarrassed by freaking Carolina, and
no, that's what I'm saying. That's what
their coach was really mad. So they're gonna come back. We usually when you get your butt kicked, you come back the next week and start kicking butt. So I think I actually like the Raiders' chances there.
yeah, yeah. So, and that's what you just kind of, and I think with the schedule this year, you almost have to look at that on a week by week basis is what these matchups are because, like you said, Joe, get out in front of them, get the wins now because they're going to be really tough to come by in the second half of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to see when the trade deadline is this year. It
Week 7.
is Tuesday, November 5th,
Okay, so it's
which
a little later.
is that is right after the Giants game. So after game 9. So yeah, I mean imagine this team with a Devontae Adams. I like that. I like that scenario. Just for half a season. Come on down, man.
Yep. And again, I think that always takes a little bit of time to get to gel. I mean, I don't think he's going to come in next week. Well, maybe he is. He's a good receiver, but yeah, it's. I would take this away from yesterday. Offense is progressing, maybe a little bit better than we expected. Defense is firing on all cylinders. So win now, baby, because you keep on doing what you're doing.
I think the
I wouldn't
offense is
change a
going to
lot.
I think the offense is going to get better too because Sayamalo is coming back pretty soon. Hopefully Jalen Warren comes back pretty soon. So we might we might actually have a better offense with a better offensive line.
Yeah,
Getting
it's
excited.
it's encouraging. I kind of go back to that pass distribution. You had multiple receivers with 3 or more catches yesterday against a pretty good Chargers defense. You guys told us how good you were. Well, we kind of proved you wrong a little bit. So take that back to LA and
And
all your
let's
fans
not,
will show up.
let's mention Arthur Smith because I think he's calling up some good plays. It's weird when you have an actual NFL offensive coordinator on your staff.
Yeah. The other thing I took out of yesterday too, despite I know they're the Heat in yesterday, but there was a lot of people downtown for the Steeler game, but we still have one of the greatest fan bases because I don't know if you watched any of that Falcons Chiefs game, but apparently all of Kansas City went to Atlanta too because it's just I just can't fathom maybe because we are spoiled going to a stadium like that and just being you know your fans are supposed to back you up, and every week it
I
seems like
mean,
the other team's fan. I mean, that was clearly a Kansas City crowd yesterday. It was clearly a Steeler crowd on that first week, and it almost seemed like when the Falcons went and beat the Eagles in Philadelphia, they were like in their element. It was almost like, you know, let's go to Philadelphia and
uh,
win,
the
and then we'll
the
come home and lose.
the 49ers played the Rams in LA and it looked like 80% 49ers fans. And we know when the Steelers go play in LA, the Steelers fans take over. That has to be weird that in your own
Yeah,
home stadium that the other team just takes over the field. That's just
yeah. Well, one of my
crazy.
favorite Chargers Steelers memories is when we went there and we destroyed them, and it was the Chargers quarterback who just retired,
Philip
um,
Rivers.
who went off on the fans. And the Chargers, when they were in San Diego, always drew a big military following. With a military, you know, like most ships out there fly Steeler flags and Cowboys flags. And I have a. It's even worse now that they're in LA because one of my very good friends, he was a Chargers season ticket holder for like 27 years. And what happened there, which I always found very interesting, it doesn't happen here, but when they voted to move them to LA, it's something insane. Like 83% of Chargers ticket holders lived outside of Los Angeles or San Diego County, so they couldn't vote to keep them
Oh,
there. And then
wow.
what do? They build the other stadiums, and it's just like, I mean,
Should have never
we're
moved.
yeah, we're so lucky, and I say that knock on wood, but like you see what the Browns are doing right now. They're going to, I think it's like Berlin Park or whatever it is, and it's like 20 minutes south of the city, which would be the equivalent of like Heinz Field being up in like Cranberry or Wexford.
Yeah.
And I hope that doesn't ever happen. But I still say there's something to be. They're down there. They're on the river. PNC's there. Everyone
Right
there.
there downtown.
Yeah, because I think
Yeah.
the 49ers are like way up off the grid too from San
The
Francisco.
the Patriots are like 30 miles south of Boston in the
Yes,
middle of nowhere where
right.
there's one road in and one road out. It's the weirdest setup.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it takes something away. It is such a wonderful setting of that Heinz Field actually is right there in the middle of the city. You have that beautiful, view of downtown and all that, and just the city is so vibrant when there's a game going on. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that, half an hour away crap. Just stay in, and if Cleveland builds a stadium like way far away from the lake, that takes away some of the character too, because part of the charm of going to playing in Cleveland is dealing with the conditions that's right there on the lake. And especially in when it's cold, it is just nasty playing there, and they have such a home advantage. The Bears are thinking of building a dome, for God's sake. A
Yeah,
dome in
we go to
Chicago?
Chicago. We go to Chicago a lot, and the fans there don't want that. I don't know where these owners get
No.
these ideas. Um, I don't know who it was in the DV morning show sometime this week, but or today. I thought this was hilarious. So when the Steelers took the field, or when Gino and Letang came out, somebody on the Chargers team's like, "Man, even our hockey players get more cheers than we do." like,
Was it
like,
you that said, I'm surprised Malkin didn't get a penalty or
yeah,
something?
I'm surprised we didn't start like 15 yards back because Malkin went out in the field. Like, don't send Gino, you send Sid. You know, yeah, great. Let's send Gino out there. Flags go flying.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised.
He
I'm surprised Malkin didn't have a hockey stick and try to slash someone, just
yeah,
to
slash Herbert during
it's
warmups.
for in tradition.
Right, right, for no
Oh
reason at
my.
all. Um, yeah. So hey, good stuff, Joe. And in Indianapolis, 1 o'clock. I will say this: Lucas Oil Stadium. If Steeler fans, if you've never gone to it, it's incredible. It is probably one of the most beautiful, amazing, massive buildings I have ever seen in my life. When you drive around it, because the traffic will take you kind of like in a semicircle around Lucas Oil and either south of the city or you cut out east. The highway splits, go east west. You can't believe that that's a stadium because it looks like a kind of like a giant house. I mean, it's unbelievable. If you go to it, if you haven't gone to that facility, put it on your bucket list because it's amazing.
I've heard that I've never been to Indianapolis, but I've heard that it is an amazing experience. I mean, there's a reason they have the NFL draft combine there every year, and they would never think of moving it anywhere else because it's just such a perfectly placed scenario. Apparently, there's lots to do around it.
Oh,
It's
there
just
is.
like the perfect situation. So, yeah, I think I need to visit this sometime.
Oh, it will be interesting to see how many Steeler fans travel because Indianapolis is not that far. It's
Yeah,
doable. It'll
nice
be. I'll be
drive. Yeah.
interested to see how much black and gold is there on Sunday.
Very interesting.
We
We
got to
need
do a road trip,
revenge.
Joe. One of these years, we got to just say we're taking the donut bag. We're
I
going on the
I
road
I like
together.
that. I like that
We
road
we
trip.
do a pre-podcast in a hotel or something, and we got to do it.
There you go. There you go. All right. I will see you, sir.
Thanks, Joe. Good evening to you.
Have a good one.